Yeah. You like the background music of the background music, O'Brien? What do you think?
I don't.
What do you think of my guitar licks there? Welcome one and all to God's country, also known as Payne County, America. Father Kerry Wakulich, pastor of St. John Catholic Students Center.
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes. And I'm here with some sidekicks. Kyle Dowd.
Let's be clear.
What?
I'm not your sidekick.
More like a Superman, Batman, Robin thing going on.
We are peers.
We're both.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be your sidekick.
Oh, well, thanks. Sidekick on the show, not
the side.
Yeah.
And in ministry,
And
there's
yes.
a sidekick component to what we do.
We sidekick. I was yours for multiple years.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We did a lot of stuff
We
together.
have worked together for many years.
The days are coming to an end.
They are?
I don't know. It's fall outside, so who knows?
Oh.
Doom and gloom is
Are you
all around
moving?
us.
Are
Christ
you
the King
Are you getting
Sundays.
moved? Let's start rumors.
In the middle of a building project.
Let's have this.
Yeah, no, at the end. At the end of a
Bishop
building.
Conderlud, I've heard he never lets people finish their building projects.
Oh, but that's
This is how rumors get started.
yeah. Well, if you don't know his voice, that is Father Brian O'Brien, the pastor of St. Francis Xavier.
Go Pokes.
Yeah. You can find more information, sfxstillwater.com.
.org.
Whatever. Hey,
Churches with .coms aren't even real churches.
buildingsaints.com.
What about .tv?
What about Christ the King in Tulsa is Christ the King Catholic .church.
What?
Something like that. I'm always like, what? Am I right? Am I typing this correctly?
Christ the King Catholic
.church.
backwards.
Remember there was
slash-
like .coms and then there was like .edus, any sort of university.
.mil.
And then there were .orgs.
Yeah.
And now
.gov.
there's like .gov, and then there was like now there's like you can get .anything, I think.
.church.
I have no idea.
Dot.
Anyway, Kyle Dowd is also joining us.
Yeah, Kyle Dowd, Seminarian of the Diocese of Tulsa.
Kyle is a seminarian of the diocese and is with us all year long
All
on what is
year
called a
long.
pastoral
All
pastoral
right.
year. Kyle, how's that going?
It's going pretty well.
Other than awful, how's it going?
What do you do? What do you do? Besides hating it, do you like
I
it?
just sit in my room and just
What
seethe.
What do you do all day, Kyle? This is not an interview with Kyle, but I
I
think
sit in my room and see.
I stare out the window longingly, looking for other parishes.
Just play a sad
What do you do all
violin.
day, Kyle? What do you do? Tell people.
I bother people at the office. No, I pray. I
Good start.
meet people at the church, kind of give tours, just a welcoming face.
Oh, okay.
Working a lot this year with RCIA. So
Yeah.
the process for becoming Catholic at our church. Like one example, there's this elderly couple that I'm meeting in their home for
Wow.
kind of catechesis because they are more or less homebound. So coming to the church for our weekly meetings.
Slightly mobile.
Yeah, not really great for them.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I'm just doing some like kind of rapid catechesis with them, and they're loving it. I love it. It's great.
You're good at it too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Things like that, serving mass, little catecheses on prayer.
You ran a retreat
Ran a retreat.
for our lectors and extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion.
Yes.
That was
yes.
cool.
You've
Maybe-
cooked me breakfast before?
Maybe doing one.
Yeah, made an opportunity for fraternity in Stillwater, and then God said, "All right, yeah, we'll use that."
Maybe
I had to have
a
breakfast.
Told you that your entire life wasn't a failure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I
saved
learned
the
this
day.
morning, or maybe like a retreat for the choir.
Yeah.
It might be in the horizon.
Might be, maybe.
Are you going to be the retreat guy?
Yeah.
Every ministry in the parish is going to
Want a retreat.
want to retreat.
Right. Spiritual nourishment. They need it. I mean,
No, for sure, for sure.
anybody that's working in the church needs spiritual nourishment because the
You can't give
possibility
what you
for
don't
burnout
have.
is so dangerous.
Yep.
Because you
Brothers,
start to
That's
resist.
awesome.
Don't-
so anyway,
don't
so
retreat. Don't
Kyle
retreat.
is here through May.
Mm-hmm.
So, enjoy it while you can.
And you're
people.
from where, Kyle?
I grew up in Enid.
But where were you born?
I was born in Oklahoma City. My dad was stationed at Tinker at the time.
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
then
yes.
he got transferred up to Vance Air Force Base in Enid, and I lived there until I was 18.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now
Okay.
you can learn Kyle's story elsewhere because
Okay,
we
got
have
it.
interviewed him before.
Well, I just want to see where
I want
he's
to rehash,
lived, where he's lived, because our discussion today
Oh.
is going to lead from
Strong segue.
oh,
Strong
I know.
segue game today.
So
Father Kerry's on his game.
I am. I'm also caffeined up.
You ate your Wheaties.
I did not.
He ate his coffee grounds.
Coffee grounds is more like
He's got a dip in of coffee grounds right now.
A dip.
well, they do have those
Coffee
little dip
grounds.
bags that you put in your lip
That's
that
so
have coffee.
gross.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
gross, if anything.
Okay.
It's just instant coffee.
Yeah, it's instant. I've done that before with MREs. Anyway, another segue. Segue back. Zip, zip, zap, back. Okay, so we Father O'Brien, you and I have been in Stillwater. I'm working on my 7th year in the great city of Stillwater, God's country, America.
Wow.
Red Dirt Riviera,
Yeah.
or for you agronomists, Red Soil Riviera.
Yeah, exactly.
Look how much
Exactly.
I've learned in the last couple of years we've been doing this podcast. And you've been here a couple years now. I think you're working on 3.5 or 4.
I came in January of 2018.
Got
so
it.
this January will be 5 years.
Okay. And you've lived in varieties of places around the country, as I have.
Yep.
And so has Kyle.
I've
Kyle's-
received all my sacraments, each sacrament in a different diocese.
Where was the first one? Where'd you get baptized?
I was baptized in the Diocese of Syracuse, New York.
Okay. And then,
First communion in the Diocese of Stockton, California.
okay.
Confirmation in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston.
Whoa.
Then I was ordained a deacon in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis at the seminary. And then I was ordained a priest in the Diocese of Tulsa.
You literally have received all your sacraments in different
Yeah,
dioceses.
I've never been married, but I've done weddings in lots of
Have
places.
you been anointed?
I've never been anointed.
Me neither.
And then I've gone to confession in many places.
Just leaving your sins.
But yeah,
all
so
over the
I've been
planet.
around. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
around. I've been around.
Kyle's lived in a couple different places. You
Yeah,
you were a focused
Tulsa.
missionary.
Yeah, I was in Tulsa for college. I grew up in Enid.
Right in Kane.
Right in Kane. Alabama is where my family lives now. Yeah, focus was in Louisiana and Missouri. I lived in Ireland for a little bit, studying abroad.
Okay.
Um,
Well, for a
so-
semester, study
so
abroad.
top that.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Top that, Father Kerry lived in
Yeah.
Korea.
Okay.
I
all right.
received the sacrament of confirmation at Onjongri in South Korea by the local bishop. Oh, okay. And so,
So to our
to our
Yeah.
to
to
your
our
point.
yeah, my
Lived in a lot of spots.
is that we have a spectrum, a wealth of experience of other cultures, and also other cities and other dioceses. What we're trying to do in
Yeah, what are we doing?
what are we
trying to
doing?
do?
Like, there's this overarching yes of like what we're doing. We're evangelizing Payne County. We're trying to build saints for the kingdom of God, both here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and around the world, because we ship people out all the time. They move off, both professors and grad students, PhD students,
Sure.
families going back to India or to like
Oklahoma City.
foreign countries like Oklahoma City. And so we do have this ability to impact a lot of people that are far and wide. Now, period. I'm going to hang a period right there on that. Also, the idea of building a Catholic culture here in Stillwater, in God's country, America, so that culture, that Catholic culture, can then be planted other places.
So it's interesting of what I think it's something that our diocese is trying to do to build a Catholic culture. But what's so interesting, and this is true just in all of Eastern Oklahoma, where we live, and it's true in Stillwater, is like Catholics we're not the majority by any means, but that ought not stop us from building up a culture that is as Catholic as we can make it. And so we don't want to do that. It's not by force. We're not taking up arms to build a Catholic culture. It has to come in a peaceful way. And we do that in a variety of ways. So one thing we've sort of in the news especially is like in the law. Like so trying to influence our state and national politics so that it tries to build a culture, a civilization of love, as John Paul II talks about it. A culture of life. But then more on the ground level of here in Stillwater, which we have a lot more control over. What happens in Washington D.C. I have some influence, and not very much. What happens in Oklahoma City at the State House, not that much. But what happens here in Stillwater, we have a lot to say about it because of how we run our parishes, of how we preach, of what we emphasize or not emphasize. And so one of the things that we're trying to do here in Stillwater for as long as that we're here, and then hopefully, we pass that on to the next guy, and that is that our parishes be, and that's what I want to talk about, I think, of like what should a parish look like so that the Catholic culture is built up. And then what we're seeing is so interesting. I mean, you're seeing students coming to OSU. They had multiple choices of colleges, and they had they could major in this thing in a bunch of different places, and they're choosing to come to OSU, and a big part of their decision is St. John's.
Yes. There's a number of students who have,
whether that's their parents, wanting them to go there because of St. John's,
correct,
or the student themselves, are so engaged in their faith as a high school student, they're choosing that because they want to be in that kind of community, in that kind of place where their faith is going to be enlivened. And then we're seeing it at the parish. We've seen multiple families move to Stillwater because they want to be a part of what we're doing. I love that this happened about a year ago. There was a family, he had 2 job offers and was debating between the 2. And he actually called, he and his wife, they emailed me and emailed whatever the other place where they were thinking about moving. And they kind of like interviewed me.
What?
Like, were you, and I'd never had that experience before, but they were like, what's the parish like? Is it kid friendly? Do you have a Catholic school? Are you thinking about, sort of all those kind of things. And then, I don't know, a month later, I got a note that says, we're moving to Stillwater. They liked what they heard, and now they're here, and we see them every Sunday, and the beautiful family, they're in our preschool, and so they liked what they saw. And so we never want to be, sort of arrogant about it, because we're far, 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 far from where we want to be in any kind of perfection. We're so far away. But anyway, people, I think, like what they're seeing, and so want to be a part of it. Yeah. So I want to just talk about it. What is that? What are they? What are they seeing?
There's this author I read, an English guy who became Catholic in by like the early 1900s. His name's Christopher Dawson. Not the like science guy Dawkins, but Christopher Dawson was a sociologist, and he looked at the culture, especially in England where he lived and grew up. His family was Anglican, and then he became Catholic. And his evaluation of the necessity of that religious culture, of that Catholic culture, is so important, because then it first has to. It's really like Platonic. Plato talks about, like in the Republic, it's got to start with the person first, and then emanates out. That if you start with like, let's just drop this here. Then it doesn't take hold. It's got to take hold of the human heart first, and that person has to be convicted of the gospel of Jesus Christ first. Reference to a couple weeks ago when we talked about just like the understanding of like the culture of multiple gospels. Everybody's trying to give you a good news that's going to give you life, but we as both priests and as Catholics believe that only the gospel of Jesus Christ is that which then animates and guides our life. And so Dawson is very clear about that in building up the Catholic culture, is that the gospel has to be the center of the life. And so you can see it, especially in Europe where it grew, the Catholic culture grew, is that the church was the center of the town. The church alerted people
Physically.
Yeah, physically,
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
at the center of a town. I was reading this book, and I was in Breckenridge or Vale, one of the two.
Oh.
Skiing when I was in seminary,
Oh.
and we were walking around one morning having coffee, and what was at the center of the town? It was not Breckenridge. It was the town of Vale. What was at the center of the town of
A
Vale?
coffee shop.
An ice skating rink.
Marijuana.
An ice skating rink. Like you got to the center, and it was these restaurants and an ice skating rink at the center of town, and the church was literally like pushed off to the edge.
Oh.
It looked like an alpine village, and we were like, what's missing here? Because what's at the center of the village or at the center of the human heart says, this is then my governing principles for the rest of my life. I think it's a Christendom to Apostolic Mission, that book by
Monsignor Shea
Monsignor Shea out of St. Mary's College
in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think his idea is the same way, that people live under the Christian culture, and they may not be Christians, but they may not be Christians, period. They like this way of life. They like the relationship that the parents have with their kids, that the parents have with their neighbors. Just that same Platonic idea is that it emanates out. So it's first with the parents, with the kids, that beautiful relationship, that justice is being given to them, each of them, and they're living this life of virtue, and we would say, add to that the life of grace. And then that Christian culture spreads out of the home and leaks over into the neighbors. And then the neighbors have this governing rule over each other's life, like, I'm going to will the good of the other. I'm going to love this person in sacrificial love. So what does a Catholic culture do? It begins right there
with the individual and with like the family as a unit.
Yeah, exactly.
John Paul II said, as the family goes, so goes the nation.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we could say that here. And I think that's where I as a pastor need to do more on the kind of just the investment in families, and it's hard, and because a lot of times it's a time thing that you want to like be with families and be, but when would that happen? That would happen usually in the evenings, and there's
other things
you
going
just
on.
get pulled. Yeah, you get pulled in so many different directions.
Can I give you guys an example real quick? I've been listening and sort of reading on Hans Jägerstätter.
Ooh.
The movie, I think it's like The Quiet Life or The Simple.
The Hidden Life.
The Hidden Life is about him. And the Catholic culture was very rich in Austria. And when the Nazis showed up, they basically flipped the culture so fast. He was the only person in his surrounding area that voted against the Nazis. Like, it had been so ingrained. And even the hierarchy of the church in Austria, the local bishop was, in 1938, was like, hey, let's celebrate Hitler's birthday. Make sure you raise the Nazi flag at the local churches.
Yikes.
Let's ring bells to Hitler. And Hans Jägerstätter was like, no, absolutely not.
Wow.
For him.
So the Catholic culture, air quotes.
He got killed for it, by the way.
Yeah, he was beheaded.
Yeah. FYI, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, you should watch the movie.
He also got beatified for it. Maybe we
Yeah,
should
did.
yeah, he's
point
in
that
heaven.
out.
He's in heaven. So praise God.
So that Catholic culture, even though it's there, it has to take those deep roots because it can be spoiled by the foreign culture coming in. I think most of Austria, Switzerland put up, and most people and Germans, the majority put up no resistance to a foreign culture coming in, and that destroyed Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we as what we're trying to do is plant the gospel deep in the heart of not Texas, but deep in the heart of both college students,
and then they can take it to Texas,
and they can take it to another country.
So it's actually interesting. We were talking the other day, Father Kerry and I, about Stillwater's a very transient town. I mean, obviously, there's people who have been here forever and will be here forever, and thanks be to God. There's that, kind of that anchor But a lot of folks are in and out. They're here for a year or two or
Yeah.
4 or and then they're gone. And how kind of that is like exciting on one level because we get them. Let's try to form them as much as we can, and then off they go, and hopefully they bring the gospel to wherever they're going.
Uh-huh.
But then there's a sadness to it too, of
Yeah.
oh man, I love that family, or I love that college kid, and now he's gone, he moved back home or whatever. And so it's hard to do kind of long-term work when there's sort of so much kind of people coming in and out. But I want to point out this. We've talked about this guy before, but it was kind of a coworker of Bishop Conderla when he was at Texas A&M. Is this guy Marcel Lejeune?
Oh yeah, sure.
And so Marcel, I follow him on Twitter, and he's super articulate guy, and just especially about evangelization. Well, he had this line. We actually talked about it in our staff meeting last week. About Catholic culture. Let me just read it, and then because I think this is what we're trying to do. So you want lots of things that are like out there. I mean, so we're running. You do it, we do it. We're running programs, and we're out in the community, and we're helping the poor. We've helped a lot with like the Afghan refugees and Catholic charities, and a lot of that kind of outward stuff. You're on campus, and you're out, in the middle of the student union, talking to people. And
That's
but anyway,
right.
here's what
Yeah.
Marcel said. A sign of a healthy Catholic culture on the local level, the priests and parish staff have no clue about the vast majority of fruitfulness in the community because it is being done in the home, at work, and in the lives of disciples. They may hear snippets, but never the full story.
Isn't
that great? And so
good.
that is, so I mean, we're kind of constantly. Somebody called me one time. They meant it as like a put down, but I took it as a compliment. They said, "Father, you're kind of a company man, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yes, I am. Hello, thank you." Like I'm a man of the church. I mean, I want to be, and I love our Pope, and I love our bishop, and I would die for both of them. But the temptation there is to be sort of constantly concerned with the parish, the building, the programs, the staff, and there's a lot there, but that as pastors, that cannot be our only concern, our only life, because there's hopefully this Catholic culture is being built in the home and in the workplace. And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, but that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
To build this sucker and
Yeah, like
make it great.
All of our ministries at the parish ought to be like as a supplement for the family life is something that I've been praying with recently, especially with youth ministry is something that I've been more involved with. We just had the Branson trip a couple weeks ago, and I was struck by that. It's like the family is where these kids are going to receive their like the real meat and potatoes of their faith formation. It's where they're going to receive all of that. Yeah. Whether or not they're receiving it, that's where they are. Like that's the normal means, the ordinary means, and so everything that we're doing is extraordinary. Like not in the sense of quality necessarily, but like what we're doing is extraordinary in that like it's kind of a supplement. It's supplementary. It's supposed to be like a helper for what's going on in the family, and that helps me a lot to because I think it's pretty common in church ministry to get burnt out, feeling like you're just swimming upstream in these kids' lives or in these like the RCIA people's lives or whatnot.
Yes.
Swimming upstream against the culture that they've been, you're trying to drag them backwards in the stream. And yeah, it actually like it's helped my prayer a lot to just like surrender their families to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and to say like, you guys are in charge of their families. You have a lot more control over what's going on. You're a lot more present to them than I am.
Correct.
And so I'm going to do my part by giving this 30-minute talk on Sunday about the Holy Spirit for the confirmation class or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't have to like save their family through that.
You don't have to save their
and
family.
so that frees me as the minister to do my job well, and then it frees it's weird to say it, but it like frees Jesus up from my trying trying to do his job for him.
No, Jesus, if you just step out of the way, I'll
Right.
get this done over here.
I will save them.
We
by
want
my-
the parish to be a place of conversion, but most of a person's formation ought not take place at the parish. Now, like RCIA people is an interesting. These are RCIA people who are thinking about becoming Catholic. Well, they're not coming, in all likelihood, not coming from a Catholic culture at home, and so they are heavily reliant, and it's one of the reasons we invest a lot of time and energy into them, because they don't have a support at home a lot of times, but then that's also the way it is a lot of times with kids and teens. They're coming to the parish for their, unfortunately, and this shouldn't be this way, but for their primary formation is happening in the hour or two that we have them on a Sunday. And it's not something we want to take away from parents, but oftentimes parents aren't, sort of holding up their end of the bargain. But then we have to do more with those parents to help them encounter the gospel and build a culture of faith in their own families. And that's the hard, that's the struggle. That's the daily struggle of parish life, trying to build it up. But one thing, in our last few minutes here, we really want people to, I think one of the difficulties I know we've both had is whether on a staff level or volunteers to kind of run things, people who are going to come and stay and invest in this place. We're talking about starting a Catholic school. One of my great fears, certainly there's financial considerations that might make it very difficult. But can we find really solid teachers and a principal, in a small Catholic community like ours? We don't have what Tulsa has. We don't have what Oklahoma City has. We don't have what Chicago has. Getting people to come here and believe in what's going on and invest in it. And so basically our message is we want you to move here.
Yes.
And what's fun is that some people have.
Yes.
Just to be a part of this. Now, to have a job, but they can work mobily. They can work wherever, and they've chosen Payne County. And that's so cool.
Yeah, they've chosen to move to Stillwater and commute. And some people work in other states and fly out there for a week once a month and work because they like rural life. They like the ag culture. They like the sporting events around here and the music and the concerts. They like all those things. Those are joys that they can live out, and they love the beauty of the faith here.
Yep.
That that's a beautiful church across the parking lot. And it's massive. You can see it when you fly in and when you drive in. It's hard to ignore it. And we're making, since the church is not at the center of town, we're making it the center of their lives, which is what it's supposed to be. Because oftentimes, you can walk past a beautiful church and never step in. But when the gospel takes hold of your life and it's rooted in there, then you're like, I want to be someplace where I can live that out.
Yeah. And it's cool, and we've seen that. And again, we're far, far, far from where we want to be. But I just had a great conversation with a guy the other day, and he just said, "Man, I've been in Stillwater for a long time, and 10 years ago, man, if you had said, sort of two new churches and kind of, all that's going on, he said, no way. I would not have believed you."
Whoa.
So I think there's a lot to be proud of on one sense, and then, gosh, we just have a lot of work to do, and we want good people to jump into the mix and not be afraid to put your whole self into it.
Kyle, hold on. Kyle, any final words? You got 10 seconds.
Yeah, God's doing a lot of really good work in Stillwater. I think it's important for us to remember that it's His work, and that we're holding the box of nails while He's building the chicken coop. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Where has that been?
That's another story.
He's been saving up that analogy all summer.
That's another time.
Oh,
that's the end of our show, y'all.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
All right, come move to Stillwater. We'd love to have you. Happy homecoming, everybody. If you're in town, come see us. Come for mass. Come
Pokes.
for confession. Go Pokes.
Peace.